Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the DoersCast. Today, we have a very, very special two guests, not one, but two, and they are pretty new to the US. They've been here only for a few months. They've been in the Philippines, and they are focused on growing their latest venture called Vlogme, which is a startup, an app that is focused on creating genuine and authentic content. And I met them like a few weeks ago at Capital Factory. Yeah, that's what I meet everyone. But I'll link their socials down below. But without further ado, please welcome Luke and Rafi Thorssen.
Yeah.
Welcome.
What's up, man? What's up? Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So how y'all been so far? Like,
Pretty
what's
good,
poppin'?
man. Pretty good. It's funny you mentioned that you meet pretty much everyone at Capital Factory.
Mm-hmm.
Same with us, bro.
That's
Same with
literally
us.
where everyone we know is from.
Yeah. When we first landed here, my sister went on meetup.com
Mm-hmm.
and we looked at every single networking event that we could go to. And we went to all of them. And people kept talking about this place called Capital Factory. And so we luckily went to some Capital Factory events, met some people, and once we started coming here to Capital Factory, we just met so many people, man. Like, I think everyone we know or everyone we have met in the past few months is somehow tied to Capital Factory in one way or another. And I might have told you this already, but one thing that my dad always tells me is if you're in the room, you're in the deal. And if you're at Capital Factory, you're in the room. And so we really like it here. But our membership might be expiring soon. And so our thing with that is we're thinking that, so we got a golden ticket. So we got 3 months here for free. And it's running out probably, I think,
in a couple weeks.
Maybe early January. And we're thinking about throwing a going away party at Capital Factory to kind of like throw a go away party. Like, sorry guys, we won't be able to afford this place anymore. So
that's kind of funny.
Making it kind of a funny thing and make it like a big deal. And then, who knows? Maybe they'll be like, "Yo guys, don't worry, you can stay for a bit longer."
Dude, that'd be cool. But if you guys are in Austin and you're an entrepreneur and you're like, if you want to meet other people, Capital Factory is the place to be. Like, they have so many cool stuff. So yeah, I guess we can start off with just like the very, very origin of Vlogme. How did it all start? Like,
Okay. Oh man. Okay, so Vlogme started way back when I was still in high school, actually. So I'm 23 now, but when I was in grade 11, we moved to a new city in Canada called Victoria. If you know where Vancouver is,
I know Vancouver.
It's an island off of Vancouver. And so we moved there from our hometown, Calgary, Alberta. And when we moved there, I went to this new high school, everything, new friends, whatever. And I hated it. I hated school, man. I didn't like the stuff I was learning. I hated showing up to class. Absolutely hated it. And, halfway through the year, I started to realize that, like, I would start showing up to class or showing up to school, but I wouldn't be able to show up to class because I would be right outside my classroom, but I'd be too anxious to go inside my class. It was so weird. So
like social anxiety?
Yeah, like social anxiety, and not for, any specific reason, but it was a weird contrast because the year before that at my high school, I was like on the football team. I had like my gaming friends who I hung out with. I could walk into the cafeteria and like everyone was my homie. And I go to this new place and I just became like the biggest loner ever. And that's when I realized I was like, yeah, I'm a pretty big introvert. So I started not showing up to class. And my dad, he realized, he's like, okay, Luke isn't a bad kid. He's not out with, a bad crowd doing drugs, skipping school. I was at school. I just wasn't in my class. And so my dad every single day would get those emails from the school saying, hey, Luke didn't show up to class today.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what is going on? And so he would talk to me about it. And, sometimes it got so bad that I would literally hide in my house so I didn't have to go to school. It made my stomach kind of drop thinking about it because it was such a bad experience. But, at the time, I didn't even know what mental health really meant. You know, I never really heard the term too much. I'd probably heard of it, but it wasn't something that I thought was a big issue at the time. And that's when I started to really understand, you know, anxiety, depression, and all of that kind of stuff. And when it got so bad that I actually ended up dropping out of school. So in grade 11, dropped out of high school. I was like, I can't do this crap anymore.
Because you just felt so like limited at school, like you felt like you couldn't be yourself.
Yeah, well, it wasn't so much that I couldn't be myself, but I just felt that, like, on top of the, you know, anxiety of going to class, I hated what I was learning. I just wanted to get into business already. I was in school and I was like, this stuff is so useless to me. I want to start a company. And that's all I could think about. And so when I dropped out of school, I started doing school online. But that didn't work out. I still hated what I was learning. And so my parents were pretty worried. They were like, okay, what are we going to do with Luke? You know, like, this kid has to graduate high school at least, right? And so I was really lucky because my dad, he found this school, and it's called the Pacific School of Innovation and Inquiry. Really great school.
Is it like a college?
No, it's a high school.
Oh, okay.
And so it's based around inquiry-based learning. So shout out Jeff.
Shout out to Jeff.
Shout out Jeff. He was our principal. He actually got me and my sister in on full scholarship.
Oh, wow.
And so
because actually at the time, when Luke was in grade 11, I was in grade 8 and in middle school. But then in grade 9, I went to the high school that he went to. And I also...
You felt the same thing?
Well, kind of. Like, I didn't feel it as much, I don't think. But the problem is that I didn't know that what I was feeling at the time was anxiety. Because I would remember getting a tight chest, not being able to, like, go to class. And then I'd call my dad and he'd have to pick me up from school. And I didn't know that the shortness of breath, the hiding in the bathroom was anxiety. I just thought that everyone had that. Like, I didn't know that people didn't feel like crying when asking their teacher for an extension, you know?
Or going to the restroom, right?
Or going to the restroom and then staying there for the rest of class because you don't want to walk back inside the room.
Did I feel you?
Yeah, so that happened like grade 8 and 9. But then 2 months into grade 9 is when I transferred to the same school Luke was going to at PSII, the Pacific School of Innovation and Inquiry.
Yeah, and what's really cool about this is the principal he wanted to figure out alternative ways of learning and teaching because not everyone learns the same, you know? And so his curriculum, the way that they taught was based around inquiry-based learning. So essentially how it would work is if you were interested in whatever, it could be marine biology, it could be outer space, it could be, you know, social media platforms, you would ask a question, and to answer that question, the teachers at school would help you build a curriculum that checked all the boxes to help you graduate while answering that question.
So it's actually like, it starts with you doing something, you wanting to do something that you enjoy.
100%. 100%. So there were artists, there were people who were, you know, aspiring architects, and there was just some really cool stuff going on. And it was great because everyone was so passionate about what they were doing because they were doing what they liked doing. And the annoying parts, the difficult things that you didn't want to do were a little bit less annoying because you had this bigger goal that you were going for. And so for me, my question was, I can't remember the exact question, but it was based around social media because I've always been into content creation. Some of the only type of content that I haven't created is a podcast, really. I mean,
True, actually.
I used to do, you know, skits, vlogs, gaming videos, like everything, you name it. I probably have over 600 videos uploaded in total of everything. And so, I mean, I was really big into content creation before, but, you know, I was more interested in the back end side of it. When I started researching into, you know, the business side of it,
how the algorithm works.
Even the financing of everything. I was so interested on that part. And I realized that, you know, we'll get to this later, but when I was working with my friends in our record label, I realized that I wasn't a creative. I realized that, okay, these guys are on a completely different level of creativity than I am. But anyway, so when I was at that school and I was answering that question, it was based around content creation and social media. And when I started looking into social media, that's when I really started to understand how negative it was impacting, its users' digital well-being and mental health. And, before that, I had no idea about really any of these terms, and I didn't know that it was having such a negative impact on us. And so when I came up with the idea for Vlogme, it was, you obviously remember Snapchat. You probably remember the time when Snapchat introduced their story feature. And I loved that feature. I fell in love with it because it was something where I felt good about posting that content. I loved watching the content from my friends, but I didn't like that it disappeared after 24 hours. So I came up with the idea for Vlogme as a Snapchat that your stories never disappear. And that was kind of the initial concept for Vlogme. But then when I started looking into it and developing social media like as a full platform, that's when I started to realize, the negative impacts that it was having on us. And so that's when we kind of shifted our focus to making it into a more positive environment online. Because, one of the big things that we think about is we're all around the same age in here, you know, and we're some of the first people that grew up using social media. And so if you think about it, every single child that's born from today on, or even 20 years ago on, is going to be growing up on some form of social media. And so it's like we got to figure out a way that it has a positive impact on us, because it's not going to be leaving us anytime soon. So
was it like, so you see it as like, you thought it was really negative. Was it just like over time you're like, the more you use it yourself, the more you do it? Or was there like a certain moment where that was like a turning point for you and you're like, man, I need to like do something about this, like I'm gonna start this thing?
Oh man, well, I would say I had one of those things kind of recently that kind of helped cement the idea that we're doing something right. So my sister, she wanted me to record some videos for TikTok. And, she's 3 years younger than I am, but we use social media so much differently. She uses TikTok all the time. She loves that kind of content, but I never use TikTok. The closest thing I use to TikTok is like YouTube Shorts. Okay. And so my sister was telling me, she's like, okay, Luke, you've got to record some videos for TikTok, because whether you like it or not, there is a huge demographic of people who are in our key demographic that is on here. 60% of people on TikTok is 10 to 24. And so that's a big demographic of people that, we want to reach. And so I said, okay, I'm going to record some TikTok videos, like whatever, let's do it. So I downloaded the app, and I didn't have an account yet. So this is just a fresh account. Nothing
no, not
on
even
it.
an account. Like, you just download the app, and this is what you see when you go to the camera.
Yeah, not even an account yet. So freshly downloaded the app. I opened the camera and I look at myself, and I was like, God damn, like I look so good.
You got like the built-in filters and stuff.
Yeah, I was looking, my eyes were a bit bigger, my nose was smaller, my jawline was more defined. I was like, wow, I look great. But then I looked, and by default, all of these beauty filters were on. By default. And not just ones that kind of like smooth your face, but some real like legit ones that change the shape of your face. And I don't know, I had this thing that just went in my head that I was thinking, you think about a 10-year-old or like a 15-year-old, even a 17-year-old, they're going on TikTok, filming a video on there, posting it, and then going to the restroom for a break, looking in the mirror and thinking, God damn, like I look so bad in real life compared to TikTok. And
they don't realize that it's like, there's all these filters and stuff that's
exactly. And it gives people a false perception of what reality looks like.
And there's even like a new phenomenon called Snapchat dysmorphia, where
What's that?
basically on like Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, there's these beautify filters that smooth your skin, make your eyes bigger. Some of them even make you look kind of like a Bratz doll. I'm sure you've seen them online. And the thing is that the people who use these filters would take them to their plastic surgeons to ask them to look more like they do in these filters. And I just think that's so unhealthy that they're seeing themselves in a fake mirror and wanting to look like that. And so, like on Vlogme, we're not going to have any of those beautify filters. We think that they just shouldn't be so normalized on social media. Like, it's literally catfishing. Like, Like, it's fine to have fun with the filters. It's fine to, you know, like do your makeup, things like that. But it's not real life.
Okay. So you guys realize that, and then you're like, okay, let me like, this is what I'm gonna build my app around.
100%. And like my sister said, we are all for filters. We love filters. We think they're really fun, and we think that a big reason why Snapchat got big is because of those filters. And a big reason why a lot of Instagram stories are big is because there's very popular filters on there that people like to use. And so we don't want to remove that because we still want our platform to be fun to use. We want people to use our app.
Yeah.
And so, we're going to have those like puppy dog type ones, we're going to have some fun ones, stupid ones, but we're going to, shy away from having completely beautify filters because we think that those are very unhealthy for the average person. A lot of people can use them and just say, oh yeah, this is just a filter. But when you're very young and very impressionable, it's not a great impression to, build into your head.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, we're going to be focusing on fun filters, and, it might include stuff that, shapes your nose a bit differently and stuff to make you look like a reindeer, something like that. But it's not going to be ones that are, like my sister says, like beautify filters or like catfishing filters. So
okay, cool. So y'all had the idea. You start just working on it like in high school and stuff.
Yeah. So this was in my basically my grade 12 year, because grade 11 I was still dropped out of school, and when I went to this school, I was able to finish both grade 11 and 12 in 1 year. And so that saved my butt, because then I was able to graduate high school, which was, I mean, it's not really that big of an achievement to graduate high school, but I mean, like, my parents had no idea what they were going to do with me. Like, what is this kid going to do? Like, so, I mean, it was pretty good to have that happen. And, one of the things that I really like to hear is that school is really pushing the boundaries for what we think school is. And I mean, I don't know. I don't think this is confidential. So you obviously know about Elon Musk and how he has kids with, whatever, however you say their name. Like the XARR, whatever. It's like some serial number. And then he has a school for them that he made. Because he didn't like
I heard
the school
about that.
system. The principal of that school is working with my principal because
to build the curriculum
for his kids in that school. And so that's super dope because it's getting a lot more recognition, because I feel like regular school system is fine for a lot of people, but it's not fine for a lot of people too. And so I think having the options out there to have different styles of learning be more available to people is such a big bonus in allowing people to create things, because that school was very entrepreneurial minded. I interned at my first startup there. I was a part of my first startup there. Actually, when I joined that, I joined a development team for this platform called Artify that we were building. And it was like Spotify, but for art. So you could have, like, if you like looking at, I don't know, Van Gogh, then it would show you things like Van Gogh, and you can have it as your wallpaper and stuff like that. It was pretty cool, but that was the first, startup that I worked for. And that's how I learned, Agile. That's how I learned Scrum.
Yeah.
And it's
very
where,
like, self-paced.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, my first internship at this mobile gaming company was during that year in high school. And that's when I started to understand how big the numbers are in this industry, man. So they had this game. It's like slots and bingo. It's called Slingo. Okay. Slots and bingo. Yeah. Slingo. And so they have this series called Slingo, and I started out being a QA, just a QA person for them, testing out the app. But then I was way more interested in the business side of things, so they let me join their business development team. And their biggest player base was moms and grandmas. So if you think about like the average Facebook mom, like kind of like that demographic and up.
So yeah, because a lot of old people play bingo.
Yeah. And it was unbelievable, because out of those grandmas, they were making like $15 million a year off one of their apps. and they had
Yeah.
like 6 apps out, and they were
Uh-huh.
all the same, just reskinned. They were
Wow.
making so much money. I was like, what the hell is going on? Like,
Uh-huh.
this is wild.
Yeah.
And just seeing the culture of that startup, you know, people were in the office playing League of Legends
Uh-huh.
and stuff like that.
Mm.
I was like, dude, this is so cool,
Uh-huh.
man. Like, I want to do something like this. And so, I mean, I give so much credit to that school for opening my eyes to that industry and that scene, and also pushing me to be a part of it, because
Mm.
it's pretty intimidating, man. Like, you walk in there as a high school kid, and there's
Uh-huh.
all these like devs getting paid 150K a year. These guys making
Wow.
millions. You're like,
Uh-huh.
what am I doing in this place? Like, how do
Uh-huh.
I fit in, and how can I possibly learn? It's just so overwhelming. But they kind of just throw you in. They're like, figure it out, because you will
Mm-hmm.
figure it out. And I learned a lot from it. So
So it was just like a completely different environment from your old high school, but you felt more welcome and more.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah. I mean, I work. I mean, this a lot of this stuff is coming back right now. But I worked at a circus startup. I
I
was
remember that.
Yeah. One of my mentors there
Uh-huh.
was like, what do you call
He was a
people
circus
who
artist.
what do you call people who perform on the side of a street? You know,
Oh,
and like
busking. He
busking.
was a
Busking?
busker.
So
Yeah.
Okay.
he would busk. He would like juggle and
Uh-huh.
stuff by the harbor, and so he had a circus company, and I that's how I learned how to do um, like inbound marketing with
Mm-hmm.
like Mailchimp and stuff,
Hmm.
and you know, all these different projects that I worked on throughout the year taught me so many different skills that I'm still using today.
Mm-hmm.
Even the way that I build reports and everything,
Yeah.
I came up with like that system to build these reports while I was going through that
Mm.
curriculum. And so, I mean, I just give them so much credit for, you know, pushing people to actually learn. You know,
Yeah.
that there's so much more about learning, and, you know, find something you like doing and get really good at it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm a firm believer that you can do whatever you want in life and be successful. And by being successful, you know, I mean, you can make a living doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I think this doesn't really apply for me specifically, but for a lot of people, if you're an artist, if you can make enough, like make as much as, you know, a teacher
Mm-hmm.
doing art, then I mean, you're gonna be pretty happy, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you're making a living doing your art, and you just get to do art. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And I feel like you can do that with whatever you want. If you want to do, you know, like podcasting, get
Mm-hmm.
really good at podcasting, and you're gonna be able to make a living from it. You just gotta
Yeah.
be able to, you know, keep improving and getting good at
Yeah.
it.
You just gotta be consistent with it and just work at it every day.
And
Yeah.
you know, one of my biggest, I wouldn't say biggest regrets, because I was
Mm-hmm.
young, but one of the things I wished was that when I was making YouTube videos, I was more consistent. Because I said I uploaded like 600 videos,
Mm-hmm.
but that was over the, that was over the course of maybe 6 years, something
Mm-hmm.
like that. And if I was consistent, I know there would have been like big opportunities there. Like,
Yeah. I mean, 100. That's like 100 videos per year. That's still like a really lot. That's a good.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
no, and it does, it is quite a lot.
Uh-huh.
But you know, when you're doing something like that, you're competing with people who are uploading every day.
Yeah.
And so the way I think about it is, no matter how good we are at something,
Mm-hmm.
you have to be so consistent, because there is some, you know, like
There's someone else doing it every day.
I always
Mhm.
think this might not be like fully PC, but I always think that there's like some young Asian kid on the other side of the
Uh-huh.
world, that's some prodigy who's working 10 times harder than I am, who's
Uh-huh.
way smarter than I am. And you know, I'm not the smartest person. I just need to know that I'm working harder than everyone else.
Mm.
And so, you know, when I was making these YouTube videos, I was really learning the algorithm. Like, I loved uploading, because I would upload a video and it would get like 100,000 views, and then I'd be like,
Wow.
okay, I'm gonna test this. And then we get 500,000 views, and I'm like, oh my god, this is dope.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be consistently getting like tens of thousands up to hundreds of thousands of views,
Mm-hmm.
but I wasn't consistent in uploading content, so I never built that fan base. You know what I
Mm.
mean? And so yeah, man, consistency is so hard. It's so
Wow.
hard, but it's the most important thing in my opinion, because even if you're an artist, you know, talking about music and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
if you make a song every single day, the songs every day will be crap. But if you make a song every day for 30 days, the song that you make
Yeah.
at the end of the 30 days is
Exactly.
going to be dope versus
Mhm.
the one that you started with.
Yeah.
And so, you know, even though they're not big wins, you do something and it's not that big of a win, it's still, you know, pushing you forward. And so
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of consistency, because that takes discipline, man. Because like you won't have motivation
Mhm.
to be consistent. You just won't. So you really got to be disciplined in being able to do that. And so, I mean, that's one of the things for really, it goes for anything, you know,
Mhm.
just keep doing it, even though you're not getting the
Yeah.
results you want to see, because you got to test and you got to, I mean, if you're not consistent, then who's going to watch you, you know?
Mhm.
So,
Definitely.
yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you guys, you it seems like you learned like all the basics and stuff at like at the school, and then how did it like progress from there? Like I know you guys move to the Philippines like right after that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I, at the time, it was just myself on
Mhm.
Vlogme, but when we moved to the Philippines, I was still working on it a little bit.
Mhm.
I had done a few family and friends rounds in Canada, and so I raised less than 15 grand just
Mhm.
from friends and family, just by reaching out,
Oh.
and that allowed me to get started and, you know, get a lot of things going.
Mhm.
And when we moved to the Philippines, I called my brother, and at the time he was traveling around Europe,
Yeah.
and I told him, I was like, "Yo, Leroy, I know you're not in the Philippines with us right now. You're working around the
Mhm.
UK, but I have this idea for Vlogme, and I really think that it has legs.
Mhm.
So, do you want to join me and, you know, help me on this project?" And he said, "Okay, sure." So
Mm.
he got on a plane, flew to the Philippines, and we invested his college funds into Vlogme.
Wow.
And this was actually after I invested mine.
Uh-huh.
And my sister was still in high school at the time.
Mhm.
And while she was in high school, my brother and I were working on this. The new iPhones, there were new iPhones that came out, and so
Uh-huh.
we needed to update our graphics. And so I asked her, I was like, "Yo, can you remake some of these
Mhm.
graphics for me?" She said, "Sure, whatever."
Mhm.
She did it, and I was like, "Oh my god, dude, these graphics are amazing."
And I
Yeah.
had no idea what I was doing. I was still in grade 12 at the time. This was
Uh-huh.
probably like 2 months or something before I graduated high school.
Were you focusing on like art stuff?
Kind
Hmm.
of. So grade 11, the way it works in the Philippines is
Mhm.
when you reach grade 11, you have to choose a track, and
Oh, okay.
then that's the track that prepares you for your college course. And so grade
Mm.
11, I took multimedia arts,
I see.
but that school was really bad, so I transferred,
Uh-huh.
and I transferred tracks too. So then I did accountancy and business management.
Oh,
But
okay.
at the time, I was just doing the UI UX of the
Uh-huh.
app, and I was just taking notes from other platforms, seeing what they were doing, even if they weren't social media platforms like games, news websites. I would just take notes, see what I liked, and then made them, and then they ended up liking them. So then I was part
Oh.
of the team.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
so we recruited her right out of high school and
Yeah.
invested
Invested my
her.
college funds
So
too.
were you also always just like interested in content as well?
Yeah, so when we went to that school in
Mhm.
Canada, um, I was in grade 9, so I wasn't as focused on what I wanted to do. I was just
Mhm.
kind of seeing what I was interested
Yeah.
in, and most of it was focused on makeup because at the time I
Mm.
wanted to be a makeup artist.
Mm.
And so then I made a few videos. I would make like different makeup looks, do photography, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Live streamed a little bit.
Yeah, live streamed a little
Oh,
bit in the Philippines,
nice.
but had to stop that because it wasn't a very good platform. A lot of creeps online.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been interested in content, but I was always too shy to do a lot of it, and like Luke said, be consistent. And so I think
Mm.
actually starting on Vlogme really helped because it was more on the back end. It was more of just creating a platform.
Mhm.
And now that, I'm older and that I've made all of these screens and all of this progress with our company,
Yeah.
now is when I can really start making content on Vlogme. And so I'm going to be the first Vlogme
Yeah,
influencer.
dude,
Yeah,
true.
and you're actually working on something that like that's solving a problem that you've experienced, right?
Exactly,
So
yeah.
like, yeah.
100%. Yep, yep. And so, yeah, dude, it's just so exciting because this is something that we want. You know, this is something that we would use,
Mhm.
and it's just really cool because we're building that. You know, like we had this idea, and it's so much more than an idea now. You know, like
Yeah, yeah.
it's like 2 years full time on this.
Yep.
So I had this idea like 6 years ago, maybe 7 years ago, when I was still in high school. But we've been working full time on it for about 2.5 years or 2 years, and kind of in between that, that's when I started working with the record label.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I guess I can talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
So when we moved to the Philippines, it took us a little bit of time to go full on in Vlogme, because at the time I put it on the back burner for a while I worked on this record label with my friends. And it was really funny because when I moved to the Philippines, the only person that we knew there was our one of my childhood friends that I used to play Call of Duty Zombies with. So yeah, I mean, so it's weird because it's not weird, but in every single city that we go to, that we've ever lived in, we always find the Filipino community. We always somehow migrate. It's just natural. Like Filipinos just go to the same places and stuff, and so we always find the Filipino communities in every city that we're in, and they just happen to be in the Filipino community in our hometown in Calgary, Alberta, in Canada. And so we knew him because our parents were friends, but something like 15 years before we moved to the Philippines, he moved. So I hadn't seen him in 15 years or something, or talked to him. This was like a straight up childhood friend. And when I moved there, I went to his apartment like maybe 2 days after I landed. And when I got in, I walked into his apartment and they were playing League of Legends. I was like, I play League of Legends. So yeah, so I started playing with them. And in the Philippines, there's a third-party distributor for League of Legends. So it's not Riot Games who owns the rights in Southeast Asia. It's this company called Garena. And so we would be at the Garena offices in the Philippines up until like 4 a.m. in the morning playing League of Legends with each other. And it was so much fun. And so one time I was out with them and we were at their offices. And
you have to like go to the office to play or something?
Well, because I didn't know this. I didn't put the pieces together at the time, but they're there because they're celebrities. And so like the Garena office would invite us to the office to play. They'd order us pizza. They'd get us all this stuff. They
it's like publicity for them.
Yeah, exactly. And so for me, I went there one time. It was the first time I went there, and they had 2 small little rooms that had 5 computers in them each, so you could have a team on each side.
Yeah.
And so we would go and we would play in there. And I remember I was playing with my friends, and one of them after the game comes up to me. He's like, "Yo, Luke, it was great to meet you, bro, but I gotta go. I got work tomorrow." I was like, "Okay, man, no worries." I lived in Canada before, so all of my friends that had jobs, they were working at gas stations or at like the Trader Joe's or stuff like that.
Yeah.
But so I just figured, I was like, okay, he's going to bed. He's gonna go work at the gas station in the morning, whatever. And when I went home that night, we were at this apartment. We still hadn't moved into our real place, and so we were just staying at this apartment. And at the bottom of it, there was a 7-Eleven. And so it was like 4 a.m. or something. I wanted a coffee before I went up. So I walk into the 7-Eleven, and I look around, and I see on all of these coffee packets this dude's face on it that told me that he's like, "Yo, man, I got work." I'm like, who is this guy?
Is this the friend, like the childhood friend?
No. So this is one of his friends that he introduced me to.
Okay,
this is his core friend group.
Okay.
But I was like, who is this guy? Like, what the hell? And so the next time I saw him, I asked him, I was like, "Yo, man, like, who are you?"
Yeah.
And he told me that he did like a bit of acting, and he was like a singer and stuff. And turns out that this dude is like one of the most famous people in the Philippines. And my childhood friend is also a celebrity in the Philippines. I was like, what the hell is going on, man?
And everyone we meet just was kind of in that circle.
Yeah, and so from almost day one of us being in the Philippines, we were just surrounded by like a completely different crowd than what I was used to. I was used to like a high school crowd of people, like the cool kids in high school were like people who were good at Call of Duty or something. Like, and so like with these guys, I was like, this is so weird. Like, it was a completely different path, than I thought that we would be taking in the Philippines. I had no idea that that was in store for us. And so that's how I met them. And we just kind of bonded through playing League of Legends and League of Legends, Minecraft, you name it. Like we just video get Super Smash Bros. We loved just playing video games together. And so that's kind of how we developed the relationship. And so during that time, I put Vlogme on the back burner. And about, I'd say, a year and a half, maybe 2 years into meeting them, that's when my friend really wanted to start a record label called Careless Music. And so we had talked about it, and we had 5 of us, I think, at the start, or 6 of us, that we decided to, full on pursue this record label idea and, start it and kick it up. And so the guy who I saw in all the coffee packets, his name's James. He was the CEO, and he started it all. So it's his label. And we had a few more, co-founders that were part of the founding team. And so for them, I was chief content officer. So like I was mentioning before, I was really big into content.
Yeah.
I'm not a photographer. I'm not a videographer. But I was doing what I could to be in the industry,
Yeah.
And that's why when I saw you at the Capital Factory event taking pictures, I remember asking you, I was like, are you a photographer? You're like, no, not really. I'm just doing this to like get in the room. You know? And I was like, I love that. I love that. Because you don't always have to do things that you love or you're really good at. You just got to do things that give you opportunities.
Exactly.
And as long as you can get the job done, who cares, right? So for me, I started doing, content with them. I was telling them about this behind the scenes content and how they needed to be more active on their social media pages. I was doing a lot of PR with their fans and a lot of, social media consulting. I was kind of the liaison with us and the social media platforms. One of the coolest things I did, which isn't really cool at all, but I got like all my friends verified on Instagram. And so they were all so happy about that. Yeah, just like that little flex, right? But yeah, so I mean, I was doing content for them, and that's when I really started to understand that people want to see behind the scenes content. People connect more with this authentic content because they can relate to it.
Yeah.
And when we started posting that kind of content, the fans loved it. They loved it because they could feel that, these people are relatable. They're not some unreachable demigod that we see on TV twice a week.
Exactly.
They're regular people who, if you see on their Instagram stories, they're playing video games, like they're hanging out, eating McDonald's or whatever. And so, I wanted people to see that because for me, if I'm following someone, I want to see that from them, and that's kind of where I got a lot of validation for the concept of Vlogmi because we are entirely, based around genuine and authentic content. And when I was seeing that this content that was easier to shoot, costs no money, and is very easy to edit, gets more views than the stuff that we pay thousands of dollars for, it's like, why would we ever do that? Why would we ever pay $1,000 for a photographer to follow us to like an overseas show? Actually, I have a perfect example. So we had this halftime show like concert for the Asia Games basketball finals. So the Asia Games is it called the Asia Games?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, the Asia Games, Southeast Asia Games.
It's SEA Games, yeah.
Yeah, the SEA Games. This was the finals for the basketball tournament was hosted in Macau. And so Macau is like, they have so many cool casinos, all this really cool stuff. And so for that, we flew out a professional photographer and videographer to come and shoot the whole thing. And, it costs
a lot. Yeah,
that stuff costs a lot of money.
And,
and so they went and they shot a really dope video. It was really well made. But, we uploaded it onto our channel and it got something like 50,000 views in 2 weeks. And I saw that and I was like, man, we have way more resources to get 50,000 views on a video like this. Like, it was just not acceptable to me because, if someone has 10 million followers, you get 50,000 views on something, it's like, okay, what's wrong here? Why aren't people watching this? So for our next for our next shoot, I went around with my cell phone camera, and I just went around asking my friends to freestyle on a rap beat or asking them some dumb hypothetical questions. My favorite hypothetical question that I'd ask is, you're stranded on a deserted island, okay? You have one companion with you. It's a mermaid. Would you rather be top half fish or bottom half fish? That's the hypothetical
Wait,
question.
top half fish or bottom half fish?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
a mermaid. You got to think of everything. How is it gonna, like, can it go fish for you? Can it get you food? It's your only companion, bro. You're on a deserted island. It's the only lady with you. So I'm just saying,
I'd probably go bottom half fish.
Bottom half fish? Yeah, word. Yeah. Because then, like, she can go get you food. You still got, like, someone to talk to.
Yeah,
if it's top half fish, it's like, this is kind of weird.
It's just legs.
Yeah. If you get both half fish, then that's dope. That's just really cool. But
That's just a fish.
Then it's just a fish. But yeah, just stupid stuff like that. Things that, like, just get people to be themselves on camera. And when I uploaded it, I made 2 of these videos, and within 2 days, they both broke 100,000 views with way more engagement on it. And I didn't even promote this. Like, I didn't promote it to anyone. To do this experiment, I created a brand new channel on YouTube to upload this on. And I didn't ask them to promote it. I promoted it through my marketing channels, like through our record label, but not for them posting or a record label posting, just through myself. And I was like, guys, this was so easy. Like, this was so easy to do. And look at this. All these people love this content. And so that's when, for them, they were, really sold on Vlogme, because they're like, yo, this is the content that we would rather post. This is the content that our fans would rather see, and it's much easier to do. And so, that's when they started to become really on board with the whole concept and idea of Vlogme, because there's some people who, their jobs are on social media. That's where they make their money.
Yeah.
And so they're the people who are, the most aware of, the negative aspects of it. And so actually 2 of my friends are really big mental health advocates, especially for social media. And so they've had several, personal things that have happened that have made them really big advocates in the Philippines for that. And so, yeah, man, I mean, it just seemed like such a perfect fit. There was so much overlap with that. And so when we started pursuing Vlogme as, a family full time, we brought all of them on as shareholders in our platform.
Wow.
And so, yeah, man. And so, like, now with our, we call it our celebrity shareholder network. It's just my friends from the Philippines, but I mean, it puffs our chest up a bit. We have over 35 million fans worldwide for just the people who are shareholders in our platform. And so,
damn, that's crazy.
Yeah, man, it's really crazy. And so, on top of it being a great thing for, like Vlogme being a great platform for people, we have the resources to be able to, make this into a mainstream platform so that we actually have, a significant impact on our users.
It seems like like the record label, like you surround yourself with all these people who had so much experience, and you learned a lot from them. Did you ever feel like kind of like an imposter among them, I guess?
The whole time.
The whole time.
And that has not gone away. I think that everyone will have that. Anyone who's doing, I mean, it sounds kind of bad saying, big things, but anyone who's really doing big things or has high ambitions is going to feel that imposter syndrome. I'm sure of it, because being surrounded by those people, they all felt that way, and they're some of the top people in their industry. They released a song, 2 minutes, it's #1 in the Philippines.
Yeah.
And they have imposter syndrome. It's like, it's crazy. And the thing for me that was so great was I was like the baby brother in the group. So I was the youngest by like 5 years. The next youngest one actually was 3 years older than me. But most of them now are 27, 28, and I'm 23.
Yeah.
And so I got to have the, benefit of the doubt of being, the baby brother. They all wanted to, help me, especially going out and stuff, being a part of the record label. There was just hundreds of really crazy nights, like very, very crazy. You go to a show one time, open for ASAP Ferg, and it's like, okay, what do you think is going to happen after that? Like a huge party, right? And so I mean, I got to get a lot of experience from, that scene, from like the business side of things. And they were all always 100% supportive, and I try to bring this culture into Vlogme that like the whole team needs to realize that we're playing for the same team here. If you make a mistake, that's our mistake. I don't want people to be worried about bringing up an issue because they're afraid I'm going to get mad. Why would I get mad? Like, bring up the issue because we got to solve this issue, And that was the culture in my friend group. It was all, we're in this as a team. Your mess up is my mess up. Let's minimize our mess ups by being open about it, by talking about this stuff, and by fixing it, because problems happen all the time. So you just got to fix them. It's not a bad thing to have problems. It's a bad thing if you can't solve problems. And so with them, having that culture there,
and you guys all see each other like as equals.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, totally. And that was one of the things for me. I'm standing in this room full of people with people who are successful. They got lots of money. My friend, like 3-story giant house. I'm in there like, bro, who am I surrounded by right now? These guys are all so talented at what they do,
but they're also wholesome and humble.
They're the most humble people I know, and it really showed me that, because they're very, self-aware. They're very, in the moment, and that's one of the reasons why we meshed so well together, because they were all so genuine. They didn't want anything from me. I didn't want anything from them. I was just like, man, I'm just happy to have friends, bro. Like, straight up, I'm happy that I get to play League with them. And so
they don't make you feel like you're not good enough, or
exactly, man, exactly. And one of the things that kind of stuck in my head the whole time I was there was, there's that saying that you're the average of your 5 closest friends or something like that. And this is similar to that, but I always want to be surrounding myself with people who are pushing me to be a better version of me, people who want me to do big things, people who want to help me get to that. And, vice versa. Like, I want to help people get to their stuff. I want people to excel in whatever they're doing. And so, yeah, man, like I did have like imposter syndrome the whole time, but I mean, it's something that you've got to be comfortable with, because I don't think it's something that is ever going to go away. I feel like the more successful I get, the more pressure I'm going to have. And, it's one of those things where you have a reason to quit every single day. Like you could say, I'm not good enough, I won't be able to do this. But
you can choose to look at your situation and point out all the bad things.
Exactly. And it's not so much about having, like, I think having a positive mindset is really important, but I think of myself as very realistic. I think having a positive outlook on things is great, but I think being able to see the positivity even while being realistic is, one of the biggest skills, because it's very easy to have a good attitude when things are going right. But when things are going wrong, it's really hard to have a good attitude.
Did that ever happen when you were with the record label?
Always. With the record label, it happened a few times. I don't know how confidential this is, so I just won't say any names, but this was something that really tipped us over the edge, and I think we talked about it a little bit before. So we were opening for this big artist, this worldwide artist. Some would say that he was even #1 on Spotify in 20-something. So, really big artist, international. And he came on a world tour to the Philippines. And we landed a show to open for this guy. So we got to do a full set before he went on in front of 19,000 people, sold out stadium. And at the time, we were 50% owned by a big record label. So think of it as Universal, as Sony, not those two, but similar size, and we were 50% owned by them, 50% owned by us.
Mm-hmm.
And we got this gig and didn't tell them about it because, I had to be working with them and they treated me like an ant. Like I was like some tiny little speck of dust
Uh-huh.
compared to this big label, and they didn't want to
Yeah.
help me with anything. They wouldn't be helping us get gigs. Whenever we did get gigs, they would be taking 50%. So we're like, yo, man, this is not cool. Like, you guys aren't helping us.
Yeah.
We're just like, please, all we want is help. Like, if you're going to be taking 50%, at least help us.
Yeah.
So we didn't tell them about this because we weren't actually getting paid for this. This was just a big opportunity.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we weren't getting paid for it. And that's the thing. Like, because, okay, for artists, one of the biggest slap in the face is when people say, trust me, I'm not going to pay you, but this is good exposure. Artists hate that.
Mm-hmm.
But on the flip side, there are things that are really good exposure. And sometimes you don't have to get paid for some of those things. As like someone on the business end of things, you got to be able to know if you can leverage this and be able to, not get paid for something, but
definitely
use that exposure.
The opportunity is more important than the money.
Exactly. And, I'm always someone who is like, okay, pay the artists. If you're going to hire a cameraman, pay them, But there are times when, I've worked for free for so long, man. Like, you got to get that experience in. And so, anyway, we weren't getting paid for this because it was such a good opportunity. And a lot of our artists hadn't performed in front of really an audience ever, like an audience bigger than maybe 100 people. And so this was huge for them. But right before we went on, we had these lawyers come and, bring in a stack of these papers. We're in the green room just drinking, having fun, and, freestyle rapping stuff. Lawyers come in, big stack of paper, cease and desist letters for, I think, 4 or 5 of our artists saying they can't perform because they're under contract. These contracts that they have these artists in are so predatory, man. They're lifetime contracts. So people have some that are 10 years, 30 years, 50 years. It's like, okay, that's messed up. People, it sucks because these people who they're getting to sign these contracts are people in the Philippines who come from a small town, like a village, straight up village.
And they don't really know like what's a good contract, what's a bad contract, but they just get attracted like, oh, there's money there. And,
exactly.
So
they're
they
thinking,
get tricked.
Yeah, they're thinking like, this is a way that I could support my family, make some money, do something that I love. But they're thinking about the right now. They're not thinking about, 5 years in the future. And so, I mean, for us, when we got that, it sucked because we had to refigure out our set. We were going to go on very soon, and some of the people just couldn't perform. And so it sucked really bad. But that was kind of the last straw. We were like, okay, screw these guys, man. Like, you guys are going to screw this up for us. We're not making any money from it. Like, why does it hurt you to allow us to do this? Like, if they were really rooting for us, this would be an opportunity to get us much more popular and make them more money. But, I mean, it just couldn't see on the same level. And so, I mean, after that, that's when we went full on becoming fully independent. And within a year, about a year after that, we became the largest independent record label in the Philippines. And so it was kind of a big FU to the big guy. But yeah, man, it was
so you guys are way bigger than them now.
They don't have any artists that are as big as our artists. They have more, because they're more tied to like the corporate showbiz scene. So if you think about like where their music is going, like they have songs in TV shows that are in the Philippines and stuff like that. So by that standard and by artist standard, they have way more artists. They have thousands. So they're bigger, but we're the largest independent record label. For music, completely blows them away. Like they are just in a different level. Like, or we are at a different level. And so, I mean, one of the big things in the Philippines is for people is trying to break out of the Philippines. How can you get recognized like a K-pop artist is recognized? Like think about how they broke out of Korea. Philippines hasn't had that yet. So we're really going for, international level music because a lot of the music that's in the Philippines is made for the Philippines, which is fine. But we just had, different aspirations, different ideas on what we wanted to do. And so it was way better to become independent.
I see.
And now we're able to do whatever the hell we
Yeah,
want,
yeah,
you know?
uh-huh,
And
yeah.
so it's been much, much better being able to do that.
Wow. So in that situation, you know, you're like super stressed. You're like, man, like, you know, they can't perform. How did you like, I guess, react to that? And like, what made you be like, oh man, like, you know, we don't need them. Like, you know, like, how did you like overcome that fear and that like uncertainty in that moment?
We were pretty bummed at the fact that they would actually do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we weren't worried about going independent. We kind of wanted to be independent the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And so a big thing for that was, you know, we had to just do everything ourselves. We weren't going to get any help from anyone.
Mm-hmm.
So sponsorships, gigs, producers,
Mm-hmm.
the cost for making all of this stuff, you know, we couldn't just we didn't have a budget anymore. We didn't have a budget of, okay, you can spend X amount at the studio, X amount with engineers, you can do X amount getting it mastered and everything for promotion. Like, it was all ourselves. And so it was a lot more work, but it was a way better learning experience because, you know, we already had all the brand recognition. Like, all the brands knew about us. We didn't really need this label to get us sponsorships.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, it was just a way better thing in general for us to be able to, you know, be independent.
Mm-hmm.
But it was scary, man, because, you know, it's kind of like going from a job to becoming an entrepreneur. You know, you have this salary coming in, or, you know,
Mm-hmm.
the salary coming in, and then it's like, now you don't. And now you have this whole team. You have all these artists. These artists got to eat, man. And
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
they got to get gigs. And so you got to find them gigs. And it's difficult as hell, man. So,
Yeah.
you know, that was a lot of work, but it was so worth it.
Well, okay. I think our camera is like is dying. All right. So we took a quick break because our camera died, and now we charged it, so it's got some more life now. Hopefully, it doesn't die again.
Perfect.
But yeah, let's just pick off from where we left off. I know you guys are making a lot of content now for Vlogme. You know, you guys have a lot of Instagram stuff, and you guys have a good amount of audience watching you now. So I guess you guys have like a strategy for how you post content. What's like, yeah, how do you go about that?
Yeah, well, one of the biggest things right now, actually, recently, that
Mhm.
we've been doing is my sister just brought on a couple interns from UT. And so they're, you know, actually, they're my sister's age, which is cool. And that means that they're on, you know, TikTok all the time. They're on Instagram and, you know, not really Facebook, but,
Mhm.
you know, Instagram,
Yeah,
TikTok.
Facebook's kind of dead for our age
Yeah,
group.
pretty much. Yeah.
But, you know, they're people who really keep up with trends
Yeah.
and what's popular. And so in our Slack, they're always sending, you know, videos
Ideas,
of
like strategies. Like they'll download a TikTok and then they'll send it in the group and we'll be like, we should do something like this for Vlogme. Like, it's just always strategizing.
Like,
and
you dissect the
especially-
video and like, oh, it's this thing about this video that allowed it to gain attention.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Finding those
yeah.
elements and combining them.
Yep.
Mhm.
And a lot of the stuff with, you know, updates, you know, company updates and stuff like that on our Instagram and stuff, it's a lot of testing to see what posts people like.
Mhm.
Because you get into a, you know, this weird feedback loop with yourself when you want to post content that is like an update that you would want to see.
Mhm.
But you know what? If someone's following our vlogging page on Instagram, they're following it because they want to see content from it. You know, it has to be a page that when they're scrolling through their feed, it's not just company updates. You know what I mean? We don't just want to say, hey, we have this new feature, or hey, we just did this or
Yeah.
just did this. We want to talk about things that people care about because as a company, what we want to share with people isn't necessarily the stuff that they want to see.
Mhm.
And so the only way to know about that is to test it. You know, test what kind of content it does well, because you need to post consistently, but by posting consistently, you're going to have a lot of bad posts, and then you're going to have some good posts. And then it's up to you to just keep making those good posts and keep making more of those good posts. And so you find what works and just kind of keep doing that until you find stuff that really works out for you. And so what my sister does is she plans out like a full month of post and she schedules them. So
Actually, shout out to Hello Woofy, shout out to Arjun.
yeah, shout out to Arjun, shout out to Hello Woofy. They're a startup. They're really cool. I think they just hit like 50,000 in revenue every month.
Wow.
So they're killing it right now. Main demographic is Facebook moms, so it's very cool. But
yeah, they're basically just a social media like scheduling platform for campaigns, content. And so I use that a lot to schedule content for all of our social media platforms like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. And it really helps because you can see when it's going to be uploaded, and you can also use their AI to suggest different emojis or different hashtags that you should be using that'll get you the most engagement.
So you said you guys use Instagram and Twitter and Facebook? Is that like the main ones?
Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and we're trying to get more on TikTok now.
Okay.
Yep. And so she'll plan like a month of posts in advance, and then throughout that month we post things individually as well. So then we at least have posts for that whole month. So if we don't do anything for that whole month and don't post any individual posts, at least we're still consistent. So she schedules that, and then in between those, when we have ideas throughout the month, we create those and upload them. And so we have two ways: the consistent way that is just scheduled content, and then in the moment type stuff where we go online and we post it ourselves.
Yeah.
Those two together is a really good mix because you stay consistent, and then you're not scrambling every day to think of, okay, we need a video idea, we need to do this. You can take a little bit of time to figure that out and create good content. So you have really good content that's engaging, and then you have your consistent content, which keeps people, in the loop. So
okay, what's the thing that you think gets the most engagement? Is it like skits or something like that?
Yeah,
definitely videos get good engagement. On our
post a picture of your butt.
Yeah, we're not gonna do that. But on our Instagram, usually it's pictures of the team that get the most engagement and likes.
Behind the scenes videos do too.
And that kind of just proves Vlogme's whole concept. It's not the perfect pictures that get the most engagement. It's pictures of what we're up to, like the team, our journey, and those ones get the most engagement by far.
Is content like your guys' main way of growth and like building an audience right now, or do you guys have like other ways of marketing?
Yeah, so right now the way that we're building out our target demographic here locally in Austin and kind of in the North American scene is through content. But for the Southeast Asia scene, we've built it through our friends and our record label and stuff. And so we're really going to be leveraging that for our initial user base. But for growing here in the US, we're doing a lot more of word of mouth type stuff. In real time,
just organic stuff.
Organic stuff.
Yeah, we're gonna start out at UT, especially because the interns that we just brought on are students there, and we have a lot of ideas on how to get it known in the campus. So then it'll just be a small group first, but at least we'll still have a user base in North America as well.
Yeah, and starting in the Philippines is great because a lot of big companies they'll test their products in the Philippines because in Manila, it's a very Americanized audience. And so the culture online is very similar to the culture that you see here in the US. And so on top of that, they're very English speaking. So all of the content, or a lot of the content, is already in English. And so when we build our initial demographic there and our user base there, it's going to be great for, going into the US and having an already established user base on our platform. So that's going to be a big benefit for us. But here in Austin, what we're trying to focus on is, I guess, like kind of the mantra is start local, expand global. And so we want to start local with local press, with doing things like this, as much local stuff that we can do to, get our name out there, spread word of mouth, do stuff at UT, and, go to trade shows, stuff like that, like the Startup Crawl, and really expand our network through that, because just through word of mouth, on our private test flight beta, We only had like around 100 people on it, which wasn't much, but we didn't invite anyone to that. Like those are just our like close friends and family. And if we invited the people who we wanted to invite onto our beta, we'd have over 1,000 for sure.
Yeah.
And so starting local with that is a great idea for us because it will allow us to get a consistent user base here while really growing our user base in Southeast Asia. So
Yeah.
And that's really where we're planning on getting the bulk of our initial users.
Yeah. And if you can leverage like your location, you know, and be like yo, Austin, you know, people like they feel proud, like, oh, Vlogme's in Austin, I'm in Austin.
Yeah.
You know, they feel that connection.
Totally.
Then that's gonna bring them closer to you guys.
100%. 100%. And that's what, you know, we're really trying to go for. We don't want to be known as a Filipino app. We don't want to be known as even, you know, in the US, we don't even want to be known as like an Asian social media app. We're just a social media app. You know what I mean? And so we want to become, our goal is to break into the mainstream. You know, one of the biggest things that I see online for the whole mental health and digital well-being community in the startup scene is there's lots of startups that have great intentions. You know, they have like Luminosity.
Yeah, I think I've heard of it.
Yeah, so you play games to sharpen your mind on there, memory games, stuff like that. You can download routine tracking apps or, you know, fitness apps. But the problem is the biggest demographic on TikTok, like I mentioned before, is 10 to 24-year-olds. And you're not going to get a 10-year-old to use a routine tracking app every single day. You know, when I was 17, I wasn't using Luminosity every single day.
Yeah.
And that's as a 17-year-old kid, you know? So, I mean, you're not going to get these people to consistently use these mental health or these digital well-being apps. And so, in theory, they have a great effect on their users. But if people don't use them consistently, they really have no effect.
Yeah.
And so for us, we had to build our platform with our core being the foundation being authenticity and genuine content, so that everything that we build up from the foundation can be based around fun. Because if it's not fun, people aren't going to use it. And so that's really our main goal with Vlogme is to become a mainstream platform that, you know, people go on and they don't think of it as a mental health app.
Yeah.
They think of it as a social media app that's fun.
And actually, I don't know if we mentioned previously, but the way that on Vlogme we kind of enforce the genuineness and the authenticity on our platform is that our users are only allowed to post content that's taken from directly inside of our in-app camera. So you can't upload anything from your camera roll or that's been photoshopped or there's no reposts. It all has to be taken in the moment.
Yep.
Okay. But like, don't you feel like even though you can only use the content like that's in the app, like people can still, like, it can still be taken out of context though, right?
Yeah, I mean definitely. Like the big thing that we're doing is if you think about something like Instagram. Instagram is built for posting the perfect picture.
Yeah.
You know, you're on a movie set, might pose for a picture. You're at a wedding. You know, the wedding photographer goes around, takes pictures of everyone.
Yeah.
It's for posting that picture. But Vlogme is built for posting the process of what went into making that final product. So instead of seeing the wedding photographer's perspective of that wedding, we were all there together. I could go to your profile and I could see your perspective of that whole day at that wedding. You know, maybe you had a really hectic morning. Maybe you showed up to the wedding late and the bride was pissed off at you and smacked you in the face. When you see a picture that a wedding photographer takes, you don't see that. When you're seeing the behind the scenes of this stuff, you get to see that kind of stuff. And so, you know, there's so many applications for it in, you know, the real world. Like if you think about for sporting activities, like what's your favorite sport?
Soccer.
Okay, so soccer, let's say when you're watching soccer on TV, if I'm watching, I don't know, like the FIFA World Cup, how cool would it be if while I'm watching it on my TV, in real time, I can go on Vlogme and go to who competes in the FIFA World Cup? Brazil, right?
Team Brazil from
Team
the
Brazil.
sideline.
Yeah. So you can see, you can go to Team Brazil's profile and see in real time what's going on their sidelines. You know, they just need a person vlogging on the side. Maybe during halftime, the coach is pissed at them. You know, they're not performing well. you don't get to see that kind of stuff when you're just watching on TV. You get to see advertisements.
Yeah.
But if you're watching something like the Super Bowl, you can see what's going on behind the scenes in real time while you're watching it on TV. And so you kind of have your own VIP access into, what's going on. Even UFC events, man. Like,
I see.
So it's really cool because there's so many different applications for this. And we built it in a way for people to be able to express their creativity on it.
So is there like, you guys have like a following thing on there, or like, is there a way for like certain people to like blow up more, I guess, and like get more attention?
Yeah, so we are in our feed is chronological, and like we 100% mean that. So if you're on TikTok, it's 100% algorithm based. You go through and it curates content based on what you want to see. But a lot of people just want to see the post from who they're following. People want that chronological feed. They want to see if someone posted recently, I want to see that, even if the algorithm doesn't think I'm going to like that. And so, for example, on Instagram, if I post a picture, the first 50 people who see it have a lot of influence on who else is going to see my post. Because if 50 out of the 50 people who see it like my post, Instagram marks that as a good post.
Yeah.
So then they'll show it to people. But if 20 people out of the 50 people show it, then it's not going to show it to all my followers.
Yeah.
And so it's, it's one of those things where it allows people to see better content, or air quotes, better content, but you're not seeing all the content that people post. Sometimes you might see a post from someone who you've been friends with for a long time, and you'll go to their profile because they posted a picture, and you see like 3 posts that you never saw.
Yeah,
it happens to me all the time. And I'm like, I never saw these posts, and I'm following these guys. You'd think that I'd see this, but and on Vlogme, so we just have a chronological feed, so it allows people to see, true to life, who's posting at what times.
Okay.
And for that, it's great. But if you want to use it as just your own digital scrapbook, have it personally for yourself, you can make your account private so no one else can see it. And, if you want to make it where it's only your close friends, like on Instagram, you can have it. We call that your crew.
Yeah.
Or if you want it to be, your public, profile and become, some sort of vlogger, some sort of influencer, you can do that as well. And so,
okay, because my question is like, how on like all these platforms like Instagram, TikTok, like, the people who are the most popular, the people who have the most following, like the content, they have all this attention because they're making like very like curated content, right? Things that are like that look really nice.
Yep.
And I mean, on Vlogme, is it like, do you think the people who are like the most popular on Vlogme, like they'll have that, or would it just like, how would that work?
I think that the biggest thing for people on Vlogme is it's going to be more of a thing where people are going to be more comfortable with what they're posting. There's still room for them to post their perfect pictures. Instagram's still going to exist. And we built Vlogme to be able to coexist with Instagram. The thing that I don't like about platforms like TikTok is they've created this culture where people just want to get famous so bad. They just want to become famous. They don't know why. They don't know for what they want to be famous for. They just want to be famous. They want to have fans. They want to have haters. People always like to talk about their haters. It's like, who, right? Like, but I don't like that, because the way that people got famous before, the way that people became well known, is if you were a part of a community, whether it's the chess community, whether it's, I don't know,
like dancing,
right? Board games, whatever, the way that you would get popular is you would become someone who is the best at whatever skill that is. If it's dancing, you become the best dancer, and people around you would know that you're the best dancer, and you would gain credibility within that community. You don't have to be the best. You could be a jokester or something, right? You could be whatever, just a personality, but people in that community would start to know who you are. And if that community was big enough, then you would be well known. You'd be a public figure. You'd be famous. But people now just want to skip the whole skill development part and just be famous. Just be famous. And for what? If you're famous on TikTok for, I don't know, doing fake pranks, what skill are you developing, you know? And
Yeah.
I worry because a lot of people get caught in the idea that I'm going to become famous, I'm going to have all these fans, and I'm going to make these videos. People are just going to like me for me.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is there's always someone new that's going to be hot, you know? Someone is going to be the new, like, and I mean hot as in trending, but it goes both ways because
Mm-hmm.
there's always going to be a new Instagram model, you know? There's always going to be new people that are in that community, and so those aren't
Yeah.
lasting gigs, you know. They're not developing skills that will help them, you know, continue that and parlay
Mm-hmm.
that into other stuff. And so I always tell people when they're trying to grow their followings, make sure you're building some sort of skill alongside that. You know,
Yeah.
don't just become famous
Not for the views, not
not
just
for
for
the
the
views,
money.
you know. And like it's okay if you're
Mm-hmm.
focused on the money, you know. I think that it's fine. You don't always have to be so passionate about creating, you know. You could want to do stuff for the money, but you have to make sure that you're developing a skill
Yeah.
that will be able to be sustainable. Because, you know, I see this all the time. You know, people just, even in music, people just want to be famous. They want to make a song that gets
Mm-hmm.
big. When was the last time you heard a Lil Pump? I liked Lil Pump. I really did. Like, I
Yeah.
thought his music was fun.
Uh-huh.
I haven't heard anything about him in so long, you
Yeah.
know?
He fell
And
off.
yeah, he did. And
Uh-huh.
I mean, like, no hate on Lil Pump, but like, it's just people have to be aware that those aren't lasting jobs. You know, you can get really hot and really popular, and in a year, nobody's going to remember you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really urge people that when you're trying to build a following, don't get caught up in trying to become famous. You can aspire to be famous and well known, but do something. You know, if you play video games, do something in the video game community so that people will know you in that community. You know,
Yeah.
like do something where you're contributing to that community that is getting you to become popular. If you're
Mm-hmm.
focused on getting famous, you might, you might, but it's not going to last. And
Mm-hmm.
for the people that it does last for, it's a very low percentage of people. I mean, do you really want to do something where you have a 5% chance of becoming successful? Like, why don't you work on stuff so that you can increase that probability? And if it doesn't work out, you're still levels above where you were before. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And
Exactly.
so that's one of the biggest things that I try to tell people when they're asking about how to grow their following
Mm-hmm.
online. Really focus on building your skill set because that doesn't disappear. You know, the whatever you
Yeah.
learn doesn't go away.
Exactly.
Yep.
Cool. Cool. All right. So, we were talking about this earlier, but how do you guys deal with hate on Instagram or whatever it is? Like, how do you react to that?
It's funny because I mean I uploaded a lot of videos on YouTube before, but
Mm-hmm.
I was never big enough to the point where there were people legitimately hating on me. I get hate comments, people saying this video sucks and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, that stuff, if that's affecting you as a content creator, that's something that you really have to learn to get over because if you can't get over it, it's not the right industry for you because you're going to be dealing with hate all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be able to understand when things are legitimate criticisms
Mm-hmm.
saying, okay, these guys are right.
Or
This
constructive criticism. There's a difference between just people doing it for the sake of doing it or someone actively trying to help you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and being able to, because a big skill is being able to know personally what advice you want to take.
Yeah. You gotta know
Because
who to trust and who not to trust. Yeah.
exactly, and you know, it's really easy for people to send hate messages to you, and it's really easy for them to make you feel like things are going to go really bad. You know, they're talking about reaching out to news outlets and sending you
Mm-hmm.
this picture. They're talking about, they're messaging my family. My family gets messages about
Mm-hmm.
me. My friends, like, if I'm getting messages on Instagram, like DMs, people saying, like, you're an idiot, whatever, like some death threats, I don't care about that because, I mean, why should you? You know, like, there's no reason to care about that. For me, it was more of entertainment. I would look at it and I'd just be like, these people are so dumb. Like,
Like they have no idea what's going on in my life.
yeah, exactly. It's like, you know what you know what I tell you.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know anything else, you know? And so you just got to get in the mindset where you don't have to prove anything because people get so proud and they have this ego where someone says, oh, you did this, you did that, and it's a lie, and you want to prove them wrong.
Yeah.
Why? Why do you have to prove them wrong in the comment section of your post? Who? So your 5 fans that read it can see how like how you're right and in the right. Like it's one of those things where it's your own ego, because if you're letting those hate comments affect you, you're allowing those people to control you. You know, you don't have control of your emotions.
Yeah.
And so it's it's a skill. It's really a skill to be able to take a step back and think, okay, why am I letting these guys get under my skin?
Yeah,
Why
'cause
does their opinion matter?
You can't control what other people do, but you can control the way that you react to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's it really is. My friends told me, like, it's just an ego thing, because why you don't ever have to feel the need to explain yourself. You don't. I mean,
You might feel like you do, but
yeah, and you
can
want
do what
to.
you want.
You want to so bad. Trust me, I get these messages and I'm like, these people have no idea. Like, I could type something back and be like, oh yeah, I just owned them or whatever. But what is that doing for me? It's just taking time out of my day. I'm thinking about it. This person gets satisfaction because I'm replying to them. That's what they want.
Yeah.
So when I do that, it just drives more of that type of content.
Yeah. So I think the main idea here is you have to put yourself first.
100%.
Right? You like if you put other people's judgment and opinions and like things like that above you and be like, oh, I need to like reply to this person and and use my resources and my time to expend that. And you have to think about like, oh, what is the cost of that on myself, and is that really worth it?
Exactly.
So
100%. And it's hard. It's really hard because you see things, and it's hard for me to even think about how something that people could say could get under my skin, because thinking about it now, you know, someone sends me a message saying they hate me or whatever, that wouldn't get under my skin. But these people are really good. You know, like, they know how to get under your skin. And so, like, they will. They will. You can't think that you're just going to shut out the haters and you're going to be okay, because they will get under your skin. But it's just about how you react to it. You know, it's just about you got to know which battles to pick. You know, you don't always have to fight these battles, because what is winning an argument against some random person on a Facebook comment going to do? You know? And so it's something that, you know, people can learn, but it's more of, don't let those people control how you feel. You got to be in the pilot's seat. You know, you don't want to be in the passenger seat for your emotions. And so if you can take a step back and just breathe, you know, there have been times when I go on my phone, someone sends me some dumb stuff and I go and reply, and then I just put my phone down, I sit back, I'm like, okay, what are you doing? Delete that. And then I'll just delete it and then move on. And you know what's funny? I don't think about it anymore after that, because it's done, it's gone. But alternatively, here's the thing. Sometimes it's fun to reply to them, because you can actually use it to get engagement on your posts. So
there's a way to leverage it.
Yeah. So if you know how to leverage it, it can actually be a tool that you use.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how this would be for someone who has 15 million fans and they got a bunch of haters, but they're like, haters, what they'll do is they'll have groups. So like, it's a group of people. They'll all create random accounts, and then they'll go to your profile and send you a whole bunch of this stuff.
Yeah.
And like, once you kind of understand that they're probably 15 or younger, they're probably, you know, people who are just jealous. You know, who has the time to do that? Who has the time to think about all this stuff and send it? Once you kind of put a little bit of reasoning into it about who's doing this stuff, you kind of start feeling bad. You kind of start thinking like, this is what this person has, you know, like, I mean, I love trash talking. I love trolling. Like, when I play League of Legends, I'm in all chat typing to people. Like, I'm the biggest douchebag online, but it's all in fun. It's all for fun. But there's a difference when someone is legitimately trying to bring someone down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And most people who are doing that are like pretty young people who are like, they don't really understand like the consequences and like why yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, that it kind of brings you to think, like, all of these young TikTok celebrities who are in that young demographic, who are dealing with that at such a young age. You know, like, for me, I didn't start dealing with it until I was like 19. And so I was already kind of old enough, and my friends, obviously, there with way more experience, were able to kind of coach me and teach me that kind of stuff. But I mean, it's one of those things where if you're 15 or like 13 and you're an influencer, that's some really negative stuff that's getting put down your ear every single
Yeah.
day. And so, that's one of the things on social media where the demographic is getting so young. You see 10-year-olds with a newer iPhone than I have.
Yeah.
Like they're getting iPhones every single
Uh-huh.
year. And I mean, it's just so important that we're conscious that this stuff is happening because, I mean, I didn't mention this stat, but when I was doing research into the mental health issues caused by social media, in some very serious cities around the US and the UK, very populated cities, there have been an increase of up to 400% for adolescents self-checking in for self-harm in hospitals and suicide rates. And, 400% is on the upper end, but
Yeah.
on the conservative side, since 2005, it's gone up 150% across the board.
Damn.
And that sucks, man. These are young
Yeah.
people, and it just shows that we gotta think about the sustainability of social media. We can't keep having people have such negative experiences online, causing so much issues to their mental health, and they don't even really know what's going on. They're
Yeah.
just coming out on the other side anxious and depressed. And
Do you foresee that happening on Vlogme, like seeing hate, and like how would you
yeah,
combat that?
yeah. Well, so the two things we have hard stops on is violence and nudity. So those two, we have an API that can detect
Yeah.
if it's violence or nudity. It has like a 98% success rate on that, so it's very accurate. But for bullying, we're gonna do a report system, and so if a certain percentage of people who see the post report it, then it gets sent to us for us to review because bullying isn't a black and white thing like nudity. Bullying is a
Pretty
gray
subjective
area
thing.
because if we're homies, I could be bullying you, but you're in on the joke. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like if someone calls me like something that is really bad, but they're my friend, it's not bullying, it's like that's our humor. And so it's hard for us to do that without any context. And so that's why the report system is so big for that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
We also have a lot of like privacy settings that you can really adjust your content to choose who you want to be able to interact or see it. Like if you wanted, you could have only the people who you follow see your content, or
I see.
only your close friends. Like I know that Instagram's close friends,
Yeah.
we call them my crew, and so only your crew can see what you upload, or only your crew can comment on it. And we'll also be implementing in the future. So on Vlogme we have reactions, similar to like Facebook. You can react with like a heart, a happy face. But soon we're gonna make it so that you can choose the reactions that people can give to you. And so if you wanted it to be all positive reactions, all different colored hearts, it's just different emojis. And so I think that'll also be something that will let people make their profile kind of aesthetic, like they can have fun with it, but also cut down on the bullying and let people take control over how people can interact with them.
And actually a big thing that is kind of built into the foundation of Vlogme is something like Twitter. In my opinion, Twitter is one of the most toxic social medias out there.
I was thinking about that actually.
Yeah. Like I actually, so I used to be, like I used to have a decent, like consistent following on Twitter, but I stopped for the past 3 or 4 months completely, even just opening it because I was realizing how negative it was, like impacting me. I was like, this every time I go on this, I feel worse when I get off. I feel like crap. If it's not these like K-pop fans on under every single post that I see, it's people just completely like being so mean to each other.
Yeah. Do you think that's like the problem of Twitter? Because I was listening to like the Joe Rogan podcast where he had Jack Dorsey.
Yeah.
And Jack Dorsey's like, oh, because I want people to have like the freedom of speech, and I want people to be able to say like whatever they want, I guess. So his mindset is like he wants to like censor things as little as possible, but when that happens, you have things like this that happen. Where it's like, man, every time you get on, like all this hate coming, like there's so many people getting off Twitter because of that. And so, like, how much do you guys want to like control that, I guess?
Right. Well, I'm actually I'm not a big fan of how Twitter does their censorship. I
Mhm.
think that it is very, I think it's very flawed. It's very subjective, and I think that it's also, it's not, it's not very, what would you call it? It's not even. I think that they, the issue with that is when you're censoring. Think of Twitter. They're a company, right?
Mhm.
We are also a company. We're just people.
Mhm.
Someone's making that decision, and so who gets to decide what is too far and what is not too far? A person. And that person can have whatever views.
Mhm.
We're all reasonable people, but I'm sure we have different views on a lot of stuff. So
Mhm.
maybe someone that I wouldn't ban, you would ban.
Yeah.
And maybe someone who you wouldn't ban, I might ban.
Yeah.
And so who gets that power? And that's a really slippery slope because, we all have our biases no matter what.
Mhm.
And so it is really hard to judge who you want to censor. And so the censorship on Vlogme, we're not going to be uncensored. We don't allow nudity.
Mhm.
We don't want violence. We don't want blatant, racism to people. But we want people to be able to express themselves.
Yeah.
If you have a bad idea, you should be able to have that bad idea. I don't
Mhm.
want to censor you from having a bad idea.
Yeah.
I can disagree with it and think it's a bad idea, and it doesn't have to be, detrimental to the society.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about Vlogme is that built into our, foundation, you have to record and upload pictures and videos taken directly from inside of our in-app
Mhm.
camera. So on Twitter, you have a profile picture. You could put some anime person up on there.
Mhm.
You could have your name as JimBob7984,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And you can go on, and now you're completely anonymous. You can say
Mhm.
whatever the hell you want. You can be super toxic. You can be really nice. You can do
Mhm.
whatever. On Vlogme, there's a face behind this. If you're posting bad ideas, you have to record yourself posting bad ideas.
Mm.
So there's a face behind it. There's accountability.
Yeah.
And so it's going to drive people away from blatantly being, racist trolls, blatantly from, straight
Yeah.
up harassing
It's a lot
people.
harder to hide things.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And so, that's one of the reasons why on Facebook, the content that you see on Facebook is pretty negative because what
Mhm.
people share is stuff that makes them upset. When something makes you upset or kind of pissed off, you see like someone treating an animal wrong.
Mhm.
You want to share that because it makes you upset. If you see something that makes you really happy, the likelihood of you sharing it is actually lower than if it makes you pissed off. And so on
Mm.
Facebook, the content that gets big is content that really hits people in their emotions.
Mm.
But in the comments, it's not actually that toxic. The content that you see on Facebook is pretty toxic, but not really the comments so much.
Mm.
The reason behind that is because most people are using their real accounts when they're commenting on Facebook. So you can click on
Yeah.
their profile and see
I
their
see.
friends and family and their name.
Mm.
And so because there's that accountability on Vlogme, we think that a lot of the people who have, you know, unpopular, bad views about stuff, they can have those bad views if it's well thought out. If they
Mhm.
truly believe in it, who am I to say that it's something that you can't believe in?
Yeah.
But now there's accountability behind that. If I want to talk about my political views or my views on censorship on social media, I have to put my face on that.
Yeah.
And so we think that that alone will drive away a lot of the trolling toxicity and bring, real conversation forward.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's a really good idea. I think
thanks.
a lot of social media or just companies in general, they need to like have more accountability in
100%.
just built into their system. But yeah, let's talk about Gumdrop
Hell
and
yeah.
acquiring it.
Hell
So if you guys don't know, Vlogme recently acquired Gumdrop, which we actually interviewed the founder of Gumdrop, Kangle,
Shout out
2
Kangle.
episodes ago. So y'all should go check that out. But this was like very recent, right? And so I guess how did the idea behind acquiring them begin, and what value do you see in it that's like, man, like that's so important to us?
So one of the biggest things for us when even starting the discussion
Mhm.
about acquiring Gumdrop was that we really liked the energy that Kangle brought to, our meetings and stuff. We would be talking to him about Vlogme, about, Gumdrop, that was his at the time, and how, we could improve things at Vlogme. And we just love his energy in meetings. And so after we got to meet his team, we got to talk to his interns, his devs, also his co-founder. We really liked their team. We thought that their team was very strong, and we thought that we could use their team to really inflate the value of Vlogme. Really pump ourselves up, get us a better product, and speed things up for our platform. And so when we got into conversations about acquiring them, it wasn't specifically just about their IP. It wasn't specifically just about wanting to get their platform and their user base. A big part of it was acquiring their team, because we meshed so well with them, and there were places that a lot of their team members were able to fill at Vlogme. And so
yeah, that's actually where the interns that I'm working with came in.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, and so at the time, Kangle and his co-founder were looking at exiting Gumdrop. They were gonna put it on the back burner for a while.
Oh yeah, I remember him telling me that.
Yeah, and so he wanted to do something with it, and that's kind of when the conversation came up of Vlogme acquiring them. And because we do see the potential in a platform like Gumdrop. We like that they were able to ship a product, something that a lot of startup ideas never get to, is shipping a product. And so the fact that they were launched on the App Store, the lead dev has a lot of experience in the mobile startup world. And so being able to have him as an advisor, as well as the team members of Gumdrop be able to work for Vlogme now, was a huge thing. And so yeah, I mean, it was a great win-win situation for all of us. And I mean, we're excited. We're not actually going to be, Gumdrop is still live on the App Store, but we're not going to be pushing out any like real updates for it for the time being. We're going to be focusing on Vlogging right now, but in the future, we see a pretty cool overlap on being able to implement Gumdrop as a feature on Vlogme. And so
I see. So actually, like combining it into one thing as opposed to keeping it two separate.
Yeah, exactly. Because Vlogme is a very complex platform. So when you think about a platform like Clubhouse could be a feature on Vlogme. And that's kind of how we see Gumdrop. Gumdrop can become a feature on Vlogme in the future. And so now that we have the IP, all the source code and everything, it's something that we can discuss on implementing into our platform in the future. And so it gives us more flexibility. Also, it gives us credibility with being able to, say we acquired a company, and it was a really good kickstart into getting us to really tackle our onboarding process, because onboarding people is really hard, and especially with interns, it's difficult when you've never done it before. And so we learned a lot from that whole situation, and so that was great. But yeah, all in all, we're really happy with the Gumdrop team. We're so happy that we have it acquired. My home screen on my phone, people won't be able to see it, but I got Gumdrop and Vlogme.
Oh yeah,
super dope, right?
Yeah.
And so like it's it was a really great feeling. And so I mean, we as a team thought that it was going to be something that was worthwhile for us to pursue, and we drafted up all of the M&A documents, and we got it done pretty quick. It was a pretty fast process to get Gumdrop. And so now, as Vlogme Corporation, as our company, we actually have 3 apps. So we have Vlogme, we have Gumdrop, and we have one called Optionary. And Optionary is this one that my aunt developed, actually. And it's this platform that allows you to learn English, but on the phonetic side, so how to pronounce words properly, rather than just learning the actual.
So focusing on having the right accent.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's also something that we acquired for the tech. But yeah, I mean, excuse me, we're always keeping our eyes open for platforms that mesh well with Vlogme, things that could really boost us. And I mean, it's a great bonus because now the Gumdrop team has a little piece in Vlogme, and so when we're big, we get to pump everyone else up with us.
That's
so
what's up. That's what's up. Yeah, you guys are. I like that. You guys are thinking really like long term, right? So you're like expanding, and you're kind of like eliminating the competition. You're like bringing into your team
100%.
And I mean, yeah, obviously Gumdrop, like they were like super involved with UT, so like I'm sure you guys like having that is like gonna give you a lot of publicity already.
Oh yeah, and one of the things that is something that we look forward to so much is that right now we're looking at, I mean, this is all public info, so like our current valuation for Vlogme is around $5 million. But with people that we've been talking to in the industry, people who are our advisors and some of the mentors here at Capital Factory, they're telling us that there are companies they've worked with who have there's this one company, I'm not going to name them, but they built their platform for around 400 grand. And it was this social platform. The platform sucked. It was really bad. It was very, very buggy. It got really bad reviews. They got big on TikTok, and within like a weekend, they got 50,000 downloads on their platform. Still bad reviews and everything. But with 50,000 downloads and a bunch of bad reviews, they were able to raise $5 million.
Oh, wow.
They were able to raise $5 million at something like it was probably around a $50 million valuation.
Damn.
At 50,000 users. And, when I hear stuff like that, if you have 10,000 users, you can raise $1 million at a valuation of like 15.
Yeah.
And so, when I hear stuff like that, one of my friends has 11 million followers on Instagram, like alone. And I've seen us be able to grow things from 0 to 50K, 0 to $1 million. I live streamed on this platform in the Philippines, and within 2 months I had like 50,000 followers already.
Yeah.
And I was actually, humble brag, summer flex, but I was the biggest male streamer on the platform.
Okay.
And I have to say I was the biggest male streamer because I could not compete with the female streamers. The female streamers were so much bigger than I was, and some of the biggest ones, it pissed me off because they were on there and they would be literally on their phone. They would have their phone like this, their camera, so it was filming down. They'd be wearing underwear, and they would have this in-app currency called beans. So that's what they were. Instead of like gold, it was beans. And they would have on their screen saying, "Beans for moans." And so anytime people would donate beans, they would moan. And I'm like, this is
not much you can do to compete with that.
This person has 5 times the amount of viewers that I have. Are you kidding me?
That's the platform I had to leave when I was
that's the
15,
platform I had to leave.
Because there was like people from Saudi Arabia asking me to marry them, and I'm like,
yo, low key, she could have been some princess right now. But yeah, man. So like, I've seen stuff like that happen. I've seen YouTube channels get 1 million followers over the course of a weekend. It just happens. And so for us, we're just so confident in our ability to be able to get to that point. 50,000 is a big number, but
it's not a pipe dream.
It's not that big of a number. If we're thinking about like tens of millions of users, 50,000 is just a speck. And so we know that we're going to be able to hit that. And so it's just really exciting because, I'm not a technical founder. I'm not developing this platform. And so the hard part for me is I can't be up all night programming because that's not what I do. That's not my skill set. And so for us, the hardest thing was getting the app built, the platform built, and getting it released. And so it's just so exciting now that we're getting to the point where we're going to be able to start onboarding these users, because I think it's really going to change a lot of stuff really fast. And, once the platform's there and ready to go, it's all going to be focused on growth. And, that stuff is the stuff that I really love.
What's been the hardest thing, like the single hardest obstacle you've had to overcome in building Vlogme so far?
I would say the fact that you have to figure out how to survive, like
not run out of runway.
Yeah. And I've mentioned this before, but if it was my sister and I doing this project alone, we would be pretty well off. We're doing pretty well right now. But the fact that we're a family business, and so on top of paying for our stuff, we have to support a family on top of that. And so, your runway gets really, it gets eaten up fast. Like you raise 50 grand and you think, yeah, I raised 50 grand, and then it's gone. Like it's gone. It pays for the last month, and it's like, where did that money go? And then you got to be focused on getting more. And so for the past 2.5 years, my full-time job has been fundraising. Just the whole time, finding investors. Where can we get investors? How can we keep our feet moving? And that is the hardest thing, because you are up against the wall every single month, and you have no idea where that money is going to come from. We're living month to month with no salary. So we have to figure out, okay, how are we going to make our car payment? How are we going to make our house payment? How are we going to pay our devs? How are we going to pay our employees? How are we going to get food, our house? And so, like,
you got to have your startup be as lean as possible.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, like, even coming here to the US, we raised enough money for us to be able to pack all of our stuff in the Philippines, put it in a storage container, get plane tickets for the family, and get an Airbnb for a month. Like, just enough. We have no plan. Like, no plan on where we're going to get the next. But, like, obviously we have prospects and we're talking to them, but we don't know where the next batch of money is going to come from. After that month in the Airbnb, what are we going to do? Like, it's really, really freaking stressful, bro. Like,
but at the same time, it's like very valuable, because it teaches you how to, like, how to minimize all your expenses.
Oh,
and
definitely.
How to, like,
dude.
We have become experts at bootstrapping and just being very crafty.
Yeah.
What's like the craftiest thing you've done to, like, minimize expenses?
Okay, I would say, all right. So one of the craftiest things that we had to do was, when we all moved here as a family, we couldn't find a place where we could all stay for like under $6,000 a month. Like, it was so expensive.
Damn.
So we shipped our parents over to Galveston, south of Houston, because we were able to get them a place that's cheaper there. So they're chilling out there while we're here in Austin. For a month or something, we were like on people's couches,
we were couch surfing, going from motel to Airbnb to couch.
God, it was such a headache. And I even did a podcast with Draper Startup House at our Super 8, and the Wi-Fi was so bad. I kept cutting out. I was listening to the podcast. I was like, man, this is like some real, like, very low budget type stuff. But I mean, anything from like the food we eat to, like, spam.
Yeah,
dude, we
love spam. We live off spam.
We've had spam cooked in 27 different ways.
Damn.
Like,
spam and rice and instant noodles. That's kind of our diet.
Spam, rice, instant noodles.
That's popular in the Philippines, right?
Yeah, so popular. Yeah, and so I mean, like, it was a lot cheaper to survive in the Philippines than it is here, and so it's been a lot more difficult to, figure out what kind of stuff you have to prioritize, because you got to eat. But the main thing for us is having a roof. If we have a roof, I'm okay, because very few people, I think very seldom in the United States do people die from hunger. No, I'm just like, I'm just saying, like, I don't think many people die from hunger in the United States. And so
as long as we have somewhere to sleep.
Yeah, so that's okay. That hasn't been a worry for me. You can survive 3 weeks without eating, right? It's not going to be comfortable, but you can survive.
Yeah, and when you when you have, like, such an ambition to build this thing that you're building, like, the other small things, like, they become insignificant. So
actually, our family motto has become, "We're not dead yet."
Yeah. So like
how big of a problem is it really if we're not dead yet? We're all alive. We're all eating every day at least,
And like, so. I do this a lot, but it really helps me put things into perspective. Like, whenever we're out somewhere, like even tonight, we have this event at Capital Factory. I don't know when this is going to come out, but we have this Capital Factory Christmas event tonight. And so, at things like that, you take a step back and you just, take a breath and you look around and you're like, things can't be that bad. Like, look where I am right now. I'm in Capital Factory. They got kombucha on tap. Like, they got cold brew. They had Monster Energy yesterday. They have Wi-Fi. Yeah. I mean, like, they got Taco Tuesdays here. I mean, like, you take a step back and you look at that and you're like, okay, life is pretty good. I can't complain. Like, no matter how hard it feels, I mean, like, dude,
Like, look at where we are. This room is nice.
Yeah,
I'm drinking this like sparkling black raspberry flavored water.
exactly.
Like, this is great.
And so it's difficult because, you know, for me, I've pretty much exhausted all of my options with our family and friends for raising money. Like, I think they're sick and tired of hearing me reach out for these fundraising rounds, you know?
Yeah.
And so, but like, it's things like that where I really had to drop my ego, because you got to reach out to those people. Because if I go and talk to an investor, they want to know that I've used all of the options, that I've tried everything to get capital already. And, you know, they want to know that we have skin in the game, that like we're a part of this. And so, like, our parents are, you know, we like to say they're betting the ranch on this. You know, our parents are full on Vlogme. Vlogme is our family company. And so, you know, everything that we do is related towards Vlogme. You know, we don't even have, we don't have time off ever. You know, it's a hard thing, because at 8 p.m. you don't get to switch off.
Yeah.
Like, there is no switching off. And so it's really easy to burn out, because, you know, there's just there's not enough hours in the day, and there's always stuff to do. But the difficult thing is that you have to tell yourself what you're going to do. You have to be the one. It's not about completing work. It's about figuring out what needs to be done and then completing it. And if you're not completing the right stuff, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
And so it's about figuring out what you need to do, prioritizing it, and then
just doing it.
Yeah, and it's up to you as a decision maker. If you're the CEO, if you're the leader, you have to make the right decisions on what stuff is important and what stuff isn't. Because if I spend 2 days writing up a report for something and it's not useful to me, I just wasted 2 days. And like I said before, there's some 8-year-old prodigy in China that is just blowing me out of the water right now while I'm wasting 2 days. And you really got to think like that, because, you know, the only thing that we have is time. And if you waste that time, obviously you got to take time for yourself. You know, we're very big advocates for mental health. You know, people got to take time, but there's a point where you just have to keep doing it. You know, like you can't let up on the gas pedal, because you let up for a little bit and then you're way behind. And a lot of the stuff that people like think might take a week to do, you can probably do it in a day. If you really try. If you really try to do it in a day, you can. And so, I mean, I think of that with a lot of stuff. And it comes back actually to my mindset from this video game I used to play. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called RuneScape.
I've heard of it, but I don't know what it is. But I've heard of it.
Game in the world.
So when I play RuneScape, I have a spreadsheet open on the side, so I'm like taking notes and stuff.
Damn.
Yeah, dude, it's I love it. I love it. And so that game taught me the marathon kind of mindset, because it takes so long to be able to level up in that game. It's a super big grind. And so the way that you play that game is, how can you maximize your efficiency with every single thing that you do in game? And in the real world, I think about that. How am I going to maximize the efficiency of what I'm doing right now? Like, if I can smash out this 3-day report in 1 day, even if the report isn't as good in the 1 day, I have something to build off of now. I can send that out and use it, because a lot of the times you're perfecting something, you make it 1% better. It's like, okay, you made it 1% better and you took 3 extra days. Like, you got to know when it's okay and when you really need to perfect something.
Yeah. Do you find yourself getting caught up, like making that decision to be like, man, like, which one do I do? Which one do I do? And like, you find yourself like looking back, like, man, I keep like, I'm not being efficient enough. Like, what do I do? Like,
well, one of the things that I do consistently, that I think people who are like in a decision-making position need to do, is you really need to, when you're making decisions, especially big decisions, before you make that decision, write down what outcome you think is going to happen. What outcome is going to come from making the decision? And by doing that, you get better and better at predicting the outcome of these decisions. You can say, okay, I was right about this, I was wrong about this, because as you know, like the CEO of your company, you're the decision maker.
yeah.
And the success of your company depends on your decision making. If you make the right decisions, you'll succeed. If you make the wrong decisions, you won't. And you have to become a good decision maker. If you can't make decisions, you can't be a CEO, because people want to look at all of these. There's so many options. What should we do now? There's so many. Should we pivot? Should we not? Should we keep doing this? They want to research everything. They want to do all this due diligence. And as a decision maker, you have to be able to say, we're doing this. We're not going to waste any more time, and let's figure this out.
Yeah, and also the thing about decisions is that there's always like an opportunity cost. There's always like a sacrifice that's involved,
100%.
and so you can't want everything.
Exactly.
Like you have to just choose a path and go with it and be like, okay, I did my best, and think about the outcome and just learn from there, because a lot of people aren't willing to make sacrifices, and I feel like that's what holds back a lot of people from making the right decision.
I actually agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
I think that people don't want to make decisions because they're afraid of being wrong. But people want to they'll hold off on those decisions, but it's really important that you're comfortable with making those decisions, because you're going to be wrong a lot, but you just got to minimize the amount of times you're wrong, and the only way that you do that is to make those decisions.
And that's how you learn.
And one of the things, we have this employee handbook, and in it, I don't remember the exact quote, but it talks about how fast is better than slow. Make a decision and do it and execute it, and if it's wrong, it's fine. We can figure it out. But for so many things, you don't want to be slow. You don't want to be planning things out, because if you just plan something out and you're planning and planning and planning, then sure, you might come up with a great structure on what you want to do, but you haven't done anything.
Yeah.
And if you do something, you're actually making changes. You're actually getting feedback from users. And so it's way more important that you get people to build something. Just do it. I want people to be comfortable in making their decisions. Our biggest rule at Vlogme is use good judgment in all situations. Because, for graphic stuff, for graphic design, my sister is the expert. I'm not the expert. She needs to be comfortable to make those decisions,
Yeah, and like I was telling you earlier, when I'd write an email or I'd make a screen, I would always go to my brothers and my dad and say, is this okay? Like, can you look over this? Is it okay? And then over time, it's just a learning experience, especially going into vlogging straight out of high school.
Yeah.
But I learned that I don't need them to okay it every single time,
Yeah.
unless it's like a huge decision, because I'm more knowledgeable about graphic design than they are.
Yeah.
And so I should have the final say on things like that. And I don't need them to proofread my email every single time I read an email.
Oh, 100%. Exactly. And I want people to have confidence in themselves when they're doing that. They're confident in this email that they wrote, so they're going to send it. You don't have to run it through me, because at first, if they're learning, when she was just learning out of high school, of course we would do that because she's learning. But now she's at a point where she doesn't have to send me stuff to proofread. Yeah. She's confident in that.
Trust yourself.
Yeah. And for me, I don't have anyone other than my dad who can proofread my stuff. So it's you just got to send it out. If you make mistakes, how many times I've sent an email to someone with the wrong name, or someone that says, hi, name, or something like that. I feel so stupid. But, it's those times that I've done that have made me become so aware every single time now. I'm I cannot make this mistake because it is so embarrassing. You learn so much more by doing it. And obviously that's so cliche, but it's just so true, man.
Yep. You got to be a doer, guys. You
gotta
got to
be a
put
doer.
action to the idea. That's what the DoersCast is all about. Yeah. So,
100%.
I guess we can start wrapping it up, but I know you guys want to talk about your mailing stuff, I think.
Yeah. So I mean, this is just a little shout out for Vlogme. So Vlogme is going to be out for you to download very, very soon. I'll look at the camera. So yeah, you can download Vlogme very soon. And in the meantime, you can go to our product hunt. If you want, producthunt.com/Vlogme, or just look up Vlogme on Product Hunt, or go to our website or any of our social pages. You'll see it. It's there at Vlogme on everything. Vlogme.com, producthunt.com/Vlogme. You can join our mailing list.
We'll let you know when it's available. You can sign up, get updates.
You can be the first to reserve your username. So if you're on right away, really soon, you can get a pretty dope username. My username is just at Luke.
Mine's at Rafaela.
So I mean, we invite everyone to come and reserve your username while they're still there, and just join the platform, because we really think that this is something that people are going to become advocates about. We think more so than just having users on our platform. We think that because of our positive social message and our vision on the direction where we're going, we think that people are really going to become advocates for this type of platform. And so get on it while it's new, guys. I mean, it's the best time to get on a brand new platform and learn it, and start being more authentic on social media.
Be more yourself.
Do you guys have a Patreon or something like that, or I guess for fundraising?
Yeah, we don't have a Patreon or anything. We might be opening up to do a Reg CF crowdfunding campaign in the future.
Okay.
So we'll keep you posted on that on our website.
On our website mailing list, if you guys are subscribed to that, then you'll get updates on Vlogme's next steps.
Yep.
Okay.
And for individual investors,
Go
ahead.
We're almost done. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, for any people who are interested in becoming, a shareholder in Vlogme,
yeah, we're like in our last minute. We're about to finish. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, if you want to be a shareholder in Vlogme, we will be opening up likely in the future to become do a Reg CF crowdfunding campaign online. But in the meantime, we're only doing a private raise through our private placement, and so that's more so open to angels and stuff. I'm not sure.
If you're an angel watching this,
if you're an angel watching this, hit us up. I mean, obviously we can get that conversation started and see where we go from there. But I mean, I just want to say, man,
thank you so much for having us.
Thanks for having us on this podcast.
Thank you guys for coming on. I had a great. This is like our longest episode by far.
Oh, no
I think
way.
we got so much good content.
That's so cool.
I'm so excited.
Well, I'm excited. Hopefully, 6 months or a year from now, we can come back on and see where the podcast is at, see where Vlogme's at, and I think in 6 months or a year, the podcast that we're going to be doing is going to be way different. I think that it's going to be even the way we talk.
Yeah.
I feel like
we're going
to
be for all of us.
So much growth, and so it'll be a cool thing to look back on.
Yeah, and the only way to get there is to just stay consistent with it. Just keep showing up
and keep doing
and be a doer. All right. This was Vlogme, y'all. I'll link everything down below. Make sure to go check them out. But yeah, that's it for the episode, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Woohoo!
Peace.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Peace.